Good morning, friends. This is Dr. Bhavani Shankar, and today we'll be discussing the principles of organization. In each and every organization, my dear friends, we need to follow certain set of rules and regulations which are going to help the organization to work efficiently. So before going into the topic, let us discuss what do we mean by organization. The concept organization is observed in almost all the societies across the globe. In order to satisfy, the people come together, they try to satisfy their needs by working together within the society or within any organization. The need for work organization came into force so that people can earn a living and satisfy their goals. It is going to help them in satisfying all the requirements. So whenever we talk about organization, it can also include factories, offices, stores, government agencies, hospitals, and so on, my dear friends. So once this industrial revolution came into existence, at the time there came the need for a bigger organization where people have to come together, work together, instead of having differences in their thought, in their belief, and so on, my dear friends. It is nothing but a cooperative work among the individuals. And the people who are working within the organization are stratified based on the positions which they are going to occupy. So that means they are going to work under certain authority to achieve certain goals as well as objectives, my dear friends. According to Louis Allen, organization is a process of identifying and grouping work to be performed, defining and delegating responsibility and authority, and establishing relationship for the purpose of enabling people to work efficiently together, my dear friends, so that they can achieve their objectives. So nothing but we have. Now let us discuss about the concept of organization. What does exactly it involve? According to Narendra Singh, we said that there must be a goal and there must be a vision for the organization. If it is a political organization, their vision is to come into power. If it is a hospital, then their main duty is to serve the patients, recover at the earliest. Each and every organization has a specific goal or a vision, and it is designed to outlive the participation of any individual who participate in this organization. So all the people have to willingly participate in that. The third one is there must be certain set of rules and regulation, formal rules and regulations, which are going to regulate the human behavior. And the last one is a fixed structure of authority. And based on the authority, we are going to allocate the roles and responsibilities to the individuals within the organization. So these are the four concepts which revolve around organization as per Narendra Singh. Now let us discuss the principles of organization. According to Kuhns, there are certain principles. The first one is unity of objective. That is the first objective of any organization, my dear friends. All the people need to have clarity about each and every individual. What is their purpose? Why they came for? Why they are going to cooperate with each other? What kind of goals we are going to have? Everything they need to have that common goal. And if they do not have that unity of objectivity, remember that no organization can sustain or reach their goals. So we require unity of objective. The second one is efficiency. If there is no efficiency, then obviously what happens? The there will be wastage of time, there will be wastage of resources. So each and every organization lays emphasis on the achievement of goals or objectives with minimum cost. They want to save the money so that the cost of the product will be very, very less. At the same time, the company can make profits, and even the society can also be benefited out of it, my dear friends. The third one is authority. Who makes the decisions? What are the functions of the everything? People need to have the authority. It may be regarding the recruitment of the employees. It may be for the skills required for the individuals. What must be the wages? What kind of policies need to be implemented? Authority also gives the right and power to the individuals. So all this we need to have a clear cut understanding on that. The next one is delegation of authority. That is nothing but we are going to transfer some authority to the superiors or subordinates. No CEO or no general manager can control the entire organization. So he's going to delegate the authority. The CEO will give the authority to the manager. Manager in turns also give some authority to assistant manager, then supervisors, and so on. The workers are going to be to the head, then head is going to be the supervisor. Supervisor is going to follow the command given by the assistant manager, and so on, so that the work can be accomplished easily. So the individuals are transferred with some sort of authority so that they are going to act rightly at the given time. They are going to make the decisions which are required at that particular time. They are going to take care of all the things, my dear friends. So that is the beauty of delegation of authority. The next one is span of management. Each and every organization cannot keep a person for a longer period in a particular position. So there must be some changes or transfers. If a person is working in a position for longer period, it becomes monotonic life. And sometimes they may also be bored, or sometimes they know in and out about that place. So there are also chances that people may misutilize the resources and so on, my dear friends. So there must be a span of management. So whether it's for 2 years or whether it's 3 years and so on. The next one is we have the scale up principle. Just like a ladder, the ultimate authority is with the hands of the manager or the CEO. And as it comes down, the authority also decreases, my dear friends. The responsibility increases from bottom to top, my dear friends. So we are going to have scalar principle in terms of organization. And in terms of responsibility, my dear friends, who has to take the responsibility? The supervisor is going to take the responsibility for the people who are there beneath him. The assistant manager is going to take the responsibility for the supervisor, and so on. It is going to increase from bottom to top. Then the last one is unity of command. Unity of command is going to state that each subordinate should report to one superior. The workers are going to the head, head to the supervisor, supervisor to the assistant manager, and so on, so that people will know whom to approach, whose command to be followed, so that there will not be any ambiguous in terms of taking the orders or doing any work, my dear friends. So these are the principles of organization. Now let us discuss the functions of organization. The first organization or the first function of organization is division of labor. In order to reach our goals, we require employees. So, for example, think if Dr. B.R. Ambedkar Open University has to function, we require a lot of departments. The first one is we require a department which is going to give advertisement, give admissions to the students, and so on. So we have SSB, Dean SSB in Dr. B.R. Ambedkar Open University. And once they have got admission into the course, then they have to be provided the material. So the departments are going to design the material, everything. And once it is written, then the DMP section is going to print that, and they are going to make the books available for the students. So for that there is, and the books are going to be sent to the students through courier. So we need to have a collaboration with the post office so that they can be sent to the required destiny. Then whenever we have the classes, there must be electrician, there must be water availability, the rooms must be properly maintained, and so on. So all these have to function. One person cannot do all these activities. So we have the division of labor. That is the first function of any organization. The next one is combination of labor. All the labor, if they're not going to cooperate with each other, remember that they cannot work properly. So all the workers have been assigned the duties. Okay, they are going to form operations in a arranged manner. The skills of the workers, the tools, and so on is going to become the production process where the products will be manufactured. So we are going to group the people based on the skills, based on the products to be manufactured, based on the skills and whatnot, my dear friends. The third one is coordination. If there is in each and every organization, we require integration of all the activities which are taking up in various departments so that the specific goals can be achieved. If there is no coordination, then obviously there will not be any synchronization and the products will not be sold. For example, way back in late 90s, a new tea product came. At the time, before the tea product green label came, at the time, all the people used to go for Gemini tea powder. Even in the towns and even in the villages, we have seen that people started using Gemini tea powder. But once this green label came into existence, came into the market, the Gemini has lost almost 70% of its market, especially in the towns and even in the villages too. If we see in the industry, we can classify into four, like the manager who is going to procure the raw material, the other department which is going to turn the raw material into finished product, then marketing and sales, advertisement, and so on, including finances. Like, so what happened? Once there was a problem, the management has asked the people why our sales has come down. So at that time, there was not a special wing to do all the investigation. So they have appointed a committee. So the committee has gone into the market and came to know that along with the tea powder, they are providing a steel container free of cost, which is around 50 rupees. That means the tea powder was coming free of cost, and that to the worth of a steel container. So all the low class people or middle class people, they have gone because they are getting something free, that to steel container. Now, do you know what happened? Because at the time, the marketing, sales, all these people, they did not give the required inputs, or else there was no separate department who can do the investigation part or market research, what is happening in the market. So do you know what happened? They have incurred losses. So they have to get all the products back from the market. Again, they have to tear the packets, fill the tea powder into the other container, again providing a steel container, that to free of cost. Till then, time has passed on, and the customers like the green label tea powder, and they have sticked on to that. And Gemini tea powder is confined only to the rural areas or only to the low-income families, my dear friends. Remember that there must always be coordination, not only within the organization, but with outside, with the customer or within the society, so that the products can be sold and the objectives of the organization can be fulfilled. Remember. The next one, all these are the functions of organization. Now let us discuss about the types of organization. The first one is formal organization. It is referred to the organizational structure which is designed for the pursuit of a common goal or objective by the management. Here we are going to have set of rules and regulations which are going to govern the behavior. There are going to be set of rules and regulations in terms of doing the activities, in terms of wages. All these we are going to have certain set of rules and regulations. Then it becomes a formal organization. According to Bernard, he has used three things in order to define the formal organization. One is, it is impersonal in nature. Next one, it is composed of members who are going to bear an ideal relationship with each other. So people who have common interests, they are going to come together and they are going to work together. Having interest does not make any sense if the people do not have the required skills, remember. And the last one is, they are going to be a part of a larger corporate system. So three things: impersonal in nature. Next one, people are going to work where they are going to have ideal relationship and they are going to be a part of the bigger organization. Now let us describe the relation among the employees or units within the formal organization. In each and every organization, we are going to have authority relationship. Who is the boss, who is the subordinate, who is superior and who is subordinate. So we are going to clearly define that so that it will be easy for the people to follow the command. Next one is responsibility relations. Who is responsible for which department or which unit or which office? It will be clearly mentioned. And it is also going to have a functional relationship within the office. which specific function will be performed by which department will be clearly mentioned, and who reports to whom. These are the four things which are going to define the formal organization. Now let us discuss about the advantages of this formal organization. In all the formal organization, the responsibility is fixed. For example, I am the sociology teacher. Even though I studied public administration, I cannot teach it officially because I do not possess a post graduation or a PhD in public administration, and I'm not enrolled into the department. So I have a specific jurisdiction. I am from the sociology department. I can only deliver sociology lectures. So it is easy for us to fix the responsibility, who performs which action or which function. So once it is clear, there is no ambiguity in terms of roles to be performed. I'm clear, and the management is also clear what kind of activity I'm supposed to do it. Then the next one is unity of command, effective accomplishment of goals. Because I know what exactly I have to do, I'll work efficiently. And when I'm working efficiently in my organization, and when I'm going to contribute to the organization, when I'm going to cooperate with the other departments, it leads to the stability within the organization. But this organization, even though it has its own beauty, but it also has some what we call uh, disadvantages or limitations. The first one is formal communication leads to procedural delays. For example, in the department, the fan is not functioning. So I cannot directly go to the electrician and ask him to do the work. I have to put a letter to my boss. My boss, in turn, he goes to the superior, then his superior, and the decision has to be taken. So we are going to have a lengthy procedure. So because of the lengthy procedure, there can be delays. Okay, fan is okay. But if there is any breakage in the machine, and if you're going to follow this procedure, then obviously what happens? The machine will not function for longer period. That means the production will come down. If the production comes down, then obviously the product will not be available in the market. So there are chances that the customers, the royal customers, may pick the alternative product so that they can satisfy their requirements. So we may lose some of our royal customers. Remember that. At the same time, we may also, because when the supply is less, at the time the demand increases, then it is going to increase the burden on the shoulders of the customers. So first disadvantage is we have procedural delays. Second one, we may have poor organization methods, which may not allow creativity. If you take the example of Amul company, till early 20th century, 21st century, they did not have advertisement at all. They said that ours is a cooperative. Our duty is to look after the welfare of the farmers, provide the good product to the customers. But how does it reach? How do people know it? Later on in the 21st century, do you know what they have done? They started giving advertisements in the television. They started sponsoring to the various events so that they can attract more customers. They can increase the business and so on. Whereas in the formal organization, there are chances that people may not allow for creativity. Next one is, it is difficult to understand the human relations because the organizational setup is concrete. It will not allow much freedom to move from one department to the other department, my dear friends. So these are the three major limitations of this formal organization. Now let us discuss about the other type. The next one is informal organization. This informal organization, the concept, was first proposed in the year 1934 by Berger, and it was later refined by Mao in the year 1939. They say that informal organizations are those impersonal interactions that are not regulated by the formal system or actually make up for the lack of formal norms among the members of the organization. Even though people are going to work in the formal setup, so they may build up the informal relations within the organization, which is going to help the people to cooperate with each other, remove the stress, and so on, my dear friends. In each and every organization, the members are going to come together because they are going to live together, work together. So, in order to form their own conventions, they are going to form their own norms and values as well as social relations in an informal way. And these informal groups are going to provide the workers relief from monotony, boredom, and fatigue. Because of informal relations, they may share their feelings, they may crack their jokes, and they may. So they are going to talk, sing, and work together. So it is going to remove the boredom and also reduce the fatigue. And it is also going to provide the opportunity of status. How does? Even though people who are having the same rank, who are doing the same job, who have the same position, how does they have the opportunity of status? So among the friends, among the colleagues, one person may be proficient, he may have the greater skills. So obviously, the rest of the people who do not know how to manage the things, they may go to this person for help, and this person may help them out. So it is going to obviously elevate his status within the group, even though they are going to have the same position. So it provides the opportunity of status. Next one is, it is going to increase the flow of emotional responses. Then opportunity for independence and increased security. So these are the things which are being provided by the informal organization to its members. Now let us discuss about the advantages of informal groups. If you see in America, if you go and try to purchase a vehicle, there the management will come to you and ask, how did you come to know about the company? How did you select the vehicle? Then if I say that my friend has purchased this vehicle and I took the feedback from him and I like the vehicle, at the time, do you know, they take the information about your friend and they also give some money, royalty to that person. Because of him, the customer came. They give much importance to the oral publicity. And here also within the organization, the feedback or anything will be is quickly spread from one employee to the other. So information is spread, remember that, very, very fastly among the members. Second one, it helps to satisfy social needs by identifying like-minded people. It may be in terms of their belief system, their conditions, their practices, and so on. For example, Sachin Tendulkar, we call the god of cricket, he joined one of the school in Mumbai, and calmly, his papa is very, very poor, but he doesn't want his child to be poor. So he put his child into the best school in Mumbai. The son of a rich family or a elite family and the son of a poor family, both of them came together and they started working together. Do you know why? Because both of them had the great ambition towards cricket or liking towards cricket. And just because of that, they came together, my dear friends. So that is the second objective or advantage. When people have like-minded, they come together and they work together. And the third one, when they are going to work together, obviously it tries to contribute to the fulfillment of the organizational objectives. So these are the three advantages, but it also has its own limitations. The first one is it can be a disruptive force because we said rumors are spread, or sometimes people are going to give the feedbacks easily, very, very fast. Sometimes there are chances that people may spread the rumors, which is not good for the employer, neither for the employee or for the organization at large. This is the limitation. Second one, organizational objectives can be reached. Cannot be reached, remember, cannot be reached if the informal groups are going to oppose it. Sometimes, because of group expectations, they may pressurize the members, saying that don't go. You must have seen whenever there is a strike or a dharna, Some people may be with Dharna, some people may not be with Dharna. So they may stop the gates and they may threaten, they may pressurize the employees not to go to the office and not to work. So sometimes it may also lead to internal conflicts among the members. So these are the three limitations of the informal organizations. Till now, we have discussed two types of organization. One is formal and the other one is informal organization. Now let us go for the second block. We will try to study about the sociological theories which are related to industry and society. The first one is scientific management theory. F.W. Tyler is known as the father of scientific management. F.W. Tyler has done research to see how to improve the life and career, the industry. And he has seen that he has done a research. He was employed in Enterprise Hydraulic during 1874 to 1878. A pump manufacturing company in Philadelphia. Here, people have learned different skills patterns working on the with the machines. He also observed that there is a weak management. In the year 1878, he has joined the Midvale Steel Company in Philadelphia and spent there for almost 12 years. And he has become the chief engineer there. So, based on his experiences, he has given this scientific management theory. And he said that scientific management is an attitude and a philosophy which is going to discard all the traditional methods. Okay. And they are going to give the rule of thumb method which was given by the management. So no more traditional methods. So who is going to give this method? So the management is going to do the research and they are going to identify the best methods which can increase the efficiency of the machines and the human beings, and that method will be trained to the workers, and they say that they need to follow the same method which increases the prosperity of that organization. It increases the efficiency of the workers and also increases the prosperity of the employer and employee. So this method is going to eliminate wastage and inefficiency production, and productivity can be improved, my dear friends. So now let us discuss the main thesis of scientific management. Here they said no traditional methods, only scientific methods have to be. They have to be first and experimented, observed, and then we are going to see whether it fits, and then based on that, we are going to employ that. There are three assumptions. The first one is improved practices will come from the application of scientific method of analysis of organizational procedures. Second one, so for that, what we have to do now? We have to ensure the industrial efficiency, we have to observe, then we have to measure it. We are going to see, for example, yesterday, for almost a decade, the machine is going to manufacture only 10 products a day. That means we are going to see the efficiency. And then we are going to observe the methods by doing different experiments. And then we are going to see if I'm going to use this method, how much the production is there. If I'm going to use the alternative method, whether the production is increasing or decreasing, we are going to do measurements. And after experimental comparison, we are going to see which is the best method. The second assumption is that there are certain concerns, the relation of workers to his work. This is the primary focus on work itself, not on a particular person doing the work. I'm least bothered. I'm least bothered about the employee. I'm going to work, see if the person works, then I will pay for him, or else no. The good worker is viewed who accepts the orders but does not initiate actions. So it is the duty of the organization to initiate this worker to take the actions, my dear friends, in a scientific way. And the next assumption is that the organization is seen as a um, rational instrument of production. So we have complicated motivational actions, emotions, social actions, and sometimes we may also have reactions of persons within the organization. But these are not emphasized within the organization. They say that if you're going to stick on to the set of rules and regulations, you can work or else you can leave. So we are going to create some set of formal rules and regulations. Now let us discuss about the core principles of scientific management. First one is we are going to develop a science of work. That means a technique which can be employable. Then we are going to have scientific selection, training, and development of workmen. If people are not trained properly, then obviously they will not be able to improve their abilities and performances. Therein they cannot work effectively. The third duty is to divide the work among the workers and give the responsibility to the workers. Sometimes responsibility is given to the workers and some responsibility to the management. These are the three things or the three principles given by the scientific management. Now, there are certain tools of scientific management. Let us discuss about the main techniques of them. First one is work study. In the work study, it is conducted based on time, motion, method study, and fatigue studies. The first one is time study. It involves careful measurement of time required to do each detailed part of the industrial operation. For example, a person is going to assemble the telephone. So how much time he is going to take to assemble the telephone is clearly studied. And if another person is going to use different method, how much time he is going to see that. So based on the time consumed to manufacture the product, whichever is going to take the least time, we are going to use that formula or method. The next one is motion study. It is a study of movement of operators or even a machine. So that we study it so that useless motions can be eliminated. For example, if you go to the cotton industry or cotton plantation, they try to hire only the children, not the adult people. Do you know why? Because if the adult is there, he has to bend and he has to pluck the cotton. So obviously backache will come, fatigue level will increase. If the child is there, he is short enough, so he can simply stand and he can pluck the cotton, so that what happens, the work can be accomplished in less time and the children will not demand for greater remuneration or else greater wages. So obviously in two ways, they are going to get more work done, that too for less price. We are going to see how the machine is properly. There must be a proper man-machine arrangement to remember that. For example, in the classroom, if the blackboard is kept on the floor, then the teacher has to bend and write. Even the teacher will not be comfortable. And if he's going to use the blackboard also, he can use it. He can sit on the floor and he can write it. But the last bench students cannot see what is written on the blackboard. But if it is fixed on the top, then he cannot use the upper part of the blackboard. So he has to stand on the chair and he has to write. So obviously fatigue level will increase. So we are going to see what are the movements of the human beings with the machines and what type of movements are there with the machines and what is the best one. So based on that, they are going to fix it and remove the unwanted one. The third study is method study. It involves determination of standard tasks to be performed by the workers. The fourth study is the fatigue study. It tries to provide the study by providing the measures to eliminate or minimize the fatigue of the workers. Sometimes people get tired very, very fast. It may be because of man-machine relations, or because of the relations between the employee and employee, or between the employee and the employer, and so on. There can be multiple reasons for fatigue. It may be the ventilation, it may be the atmosphere within the industry, and so on. So our duty is to identify what are the factors which are increasing the fatigue levels among the individuals, and try to reduce the fatigue level so that the production can be increased. So these are the four methods which are used under work study, my dear friends. Then the next one is introduction of functional organization. It is done by separating the functions of planning and implementation between two sets of foremen. Functional organization. If we are going to separate the people, separate the functions of planning and implementation. So planning is done by different people and the implementation is done by different people. And if you go to the garment industry, remember, a person will be there who is going to operate the machine which cuts the cloth into pieces, required pieces. And one person is going to stitch only the collar. One person is going to stitch only the collar one. The other person is going to stitch only the right part of the shoulder, hand. The other one is going to stitch only the cuff. The other person left. Likewise, 13 departments are there to stitch a complete shirt. Remember that. So planning is done by the different departments so that he becomes the expert in that domain. And the person who is going to execute the task, he is going to be expert only in that. There is no need for him to crack his head in terms of planning. Then he also introduced differential piece plan of wage payment. No more fixed salary. He introduced piece rate. If I manufacture 1 pen, I pay 10 rupees. If you manufacture 2 pens, 20 rupees. If I'm going to manufacture 10 pens, then it is not 10 into 10, 100. It may be 150, 50 rupees bonus. If you're going to manufacture 20 pens, it may not be 150 plus 150, 300. It can also go to 400 or 500. In order to motivate the people, to work efficiently, they said that differential piece plan is going to work, my dear friends, rather than a fixed wage, my dear friends. Then the next one is standardization of tools and equipment for workers. What must be the speed of the machines? What must be the working conditions? What kind of material to be processed? Everything will be studied and standardized. Next one is scientific selection of the employees. Proper placement and training of the workers has to be done by the centralized personnel department. Our duty is to select the right person for the right job. And the last one is mental revolution on the part of the employers and the workmen in regard to the mutual cooperation has to be done. So these are the tools of scientific management. Now let us discuss about the impact of scientific management. 1 minute, guys. Okay. So the first one is in the early 20th century, this scientific management slowly spread from one organization to the other organization because it is going to improve the efficiency of the people, workers. It is going to increase the production. Therein, the organizations are going to make huge profits. It is not only confined to the industries. Slowly, it also entered into the government organizations too. And later on, in 1910, the scientific management movement manifested in the establishment of the Commission of Economy and Efficiency under the President Trump. The recommendations of this commission has popularized the scientific management movement. And later on, this has been adopted by various organizations. This has gained significant consideration or importance in the industrial management, even in the Soviet Union. They have applied the principles of this scientific management for increasing the efficiency and production, my dear friends. But even this organization has been critically viewed. Tyler has said that our duty is to rationalize and standardize the production techniques in the interest of economy, efficiency, and mutual prosperity. His primary point of interest was the individual pursuing individual goals and motivated by incentive payments. If I want more incentives, more payments, then I'm going to work effectively. That means the other people are being deprived, my dear friends. They may not work efficiently, so they may be kicked out of the organization and so on. And it is not going to lead to cooperation. No more cooperation, no more sharing, nothing like. So obviously, it may increase the fatigue levels among the individuals. And this also leads to mental revolution, because whoever works efficiently, new methods, new techniques will come. But it may spoil the health of the individuals. People may lose interest in the job. They may have monotony, and it may increase the burden on the individuals in performing their duties and so on. This is also going to be a negative aspect for the industry, my dear friends. So in order to fight for the rights, people may organize trade unions and fight against the capitalists or the industries for the welfare. Now let us discuss the human relations approach theory, which is given by Elton Mayo. Elton Mayo wants to understand what is the importance of these human relations within the organization. Sorry, 1 minute. So first one is, he has gone for Hadron experiment. There was a Hadron plant of Western Electric, which was located at Chicago, and it has almost 29,000 employees working. And their main duty is to manufacture the telephones or telephone equipments. So they want to understand the relationship between workplace, lighting, and individual efficiency. So at the initial stage, what they have done is they started increasing the size of the candle from 8 feet to 12 feet, 12 to 24 feet, up to 36 feet. They have seen as the height of the candle was increasing, the lighting has spread across the room. So at that time, do you know what happened? The production also increased. So they want to see whether there is a relation between the illuminous system and that of the production. So again, they started reversing the size of the candle. So from 36 feet, they started reducing the size of the candle. But do you know what happened? Surprisingly, they saw that the production did not affect at all. The people thought that the production will come down, but the production was constant, my dear friends. So at the time, they came to know that it's not the lighting system. There is something else which is going to increase the productivity within the organization or decrease the productivity, my dear friends. But they have observed that most of the people by the time 4 o'clock in the evening, they're packing all their tools, because by 5 o'clock they have to leave the office. So they stopped working from 4 to 5. That was observed within the organization. So the first experiment was illuminous, nothing but the lighting system. The second one was based on the Hadron experiment. He understood that people based on job satisfaction and the freedom given to the workers, okay, is going to increase the standard of output or decrease the standard of output. If a person does not have satisfaction with the job, he or she will not work efficiently. Remember, the next one is intensified interaction and cooperation will lead to high level of group cohesion. If they are going to have proper interaction, if they are going to have good coordination, cooperation among the individuals, then that organization will reach its goal in less time. Job satisfaction and output are dependent mostly on cooperation and the feeling of worth. If I'm going to do a job, whether I'm going to get the recognition, whether I'm going to get the required salary or wage or not, all these are also going to be linked with the output, my dear friends. This has been observed by Mayo after the elimination system and after interviewing the people within the organization. The next one was scientific management theory versus human relations theory. The human relations theory gives much importance for the formal organization. It has to go together. Both has to go together. Too much restrictions may not allow the people to work efficiently. So we need both society has consists of organized as well as unorganized individuals, and every individual is going to act according to his own interest. He wants to secure his self-interest, and every person thinks logically. Maya pointed out that most people do not think logically. Scientific management is saying that unorganized people think scientifically, rationally, and they want to safeguard their interest. Whereas Mayo says that, sorry, all the people does not think scientifically most of the time. They do the job. And sometimes they may think rationally or logically when they meet a personal crisis only, because it is their routine. Mayo's second contribution consists in providing a new vocabulary to motivation. Our duty is to motivate the people. So it may be by giving incentives, it may be by giving training, it may be by giving promotions, and so on, my dear friends. Till now, we have studied Elton Mayo's theory. Now we'll go for labor and monopoly capital. Harry Braveman has proposed the theory of labor and monopoly capital. He considered labor process and the exploitation of the worker to be the heart of the Marxian theory. According to Marxian theory, according to Karl Marx, the capitalists always try to exploit the working class. They may make them work longer period, they may pay them less, and they may also alienate the workers from the means of production, from the mode of production, from himself and from the society. And this Harry also tried to study the reflections of this. So the title of this book, Labor and Monopoly Capital, reflects the degradation of work in the 20th century. It shows that he has adopted the Marxian perspective to understand the reality of the workplace in the 20th century. Braveman intended not only to update the Marxian theory or the interest of Marxian on manual workers, but also he tried to examine what is happening to the white collar and the service workers within the industry. Braveman was very, very critical, not of science and technology, but simply the way they are used by the capitalists as a weapon of domination in the creation, perpetuation, and deepening of gulf between the classes, or increasing the gap between the classes, nothing but the rich, middle, and the poor, my dear friends. Braveman was primarily concerned that the capitalists control and exploit the people, as well as the derivative process of mechanization and rationalization are being as the used to exploit the people. His main concern was degradation of workers as it affected the working class. His real objective was uh, that he emphasized on the opening page of his book that the structure of working class and the manner in which it has changed. The appearance of professional managers as a part of the structural hierarchy of large organizations can be included with the maintenance of the capitalist production system because professional acting like supervisors, managers, and the middle management represent the tier of employees whose purpose is to carry out the monitoring task, which was given by the owners and which was earlier performed by the owners. Professional managers and supervisors guards the owning class interest. That is nothing but they are going to stick on to the command given by the management. So it can be said that the group of managers professionally oriented at supervisory work is a kind of new category of workers whose task is not so much creation, but simply they are going to monitor and control the operations. Bremen, his own background as a labor and a left wing activist, gave unique personal authenticity to his academic writing. According to him, new technology has not improved at all, and work enjoyment of workers has not improved at all. Instead, the productive work still continues in a similar narrow skill format as before because the management is going to ensure that people are working in the given set and the duty of the management nothing but the managers and the supervisors is to simply supervise the work. That's it. So it has been resulted in depletion of work and so on, my dear friends. There are three aspects of this theory. The first one is the necessity of capital to realize the potential of purchased labor power by transforming it into labor under its own control, thereby creating the basis for alienation of the workforce. The second one is the origin of management lay in struggle to devise the most effective means of imposing employers' control within a capitalist social relation of production, different in the kind and scope of craft production. And the third aspect is that the development within the capitalist mode of production of your division of labor based on a systematic subdivision of worker rather than simply distribution of crafts. This division provides the basis for the subsequent fragmentation of all round craft skills within the organization. Bremen explains that Taylorism advocates the pursuit of industrial efficiency from execution and accomplishing the tasks. Firstly, job content is progressively de-skilled as workers are broken down. That means in the olden days, worker used to do all the complete work. For example, if you just now I give the example of this shirt garment. In the old days, the tailor used to take the measurement, he used to cut into pieces, and then he used to stitch the shirt. But right now, the work is broken into multiple fragments, and each person that doesn't know how to stitch the complete task. So the mental ability and the physical efforts to complete has come down. The second one is that the functions of planning and decision making are controlled by the management itself. So managerial functions have been done differently. So this task is going to further detroit or exploit the people or alienate the working class, my dear friends. And he also said that um, technological changes are going to improve the production efficiency, but they also facilitate the progressive elimination of the control functions of work and the transfers to devices which are controlled by management from outside the direct production process. For example, nowadays, uh, earlier, if I have any problem with any product, or for example, I have some problem with my mobile service, whether it's Airtel, Vodafone, BSNL, or any. So I used to have a customer care number. I used to directly call that person and I used to talk to a human being. But right now, when the machines can do that work, why to hire the people? So the management is simply using the machines. They are having a software, and you're going to talk to a software, my dear friends. It is going to ask you if you want so and so query, press one. If you have so and so, then press two. If you have press three, and so, my dear friends. And if you want to talk to the customer, a human being, it is a lengthy process. Remember that nowadays. So technology obviously is going to increase the efficiency, it is going to increase the production, but it also there is a danger that the human beings can be replaced by machines. That is what is happening. So the capitalist mode of production, new methods, new technologies which are incorporated by the management can dissolve the labor process. And if the labor is more uh, removed by the industry, so it may lead to unemployment, which leads to further issues within the society. Okay, today we'll stop here, beta, and we'll continue in the next class. If you have any doubts, you can ask. Okay, thank you.